I'm Emma, and I'll be discussing a possible governmental collapse in coming years. Societal collapse is inevitable. We have seen many blossoming civilizations abruptly crack. Societies such as the Mayans, the Roman Empire, and the British Empire. These societies were once great, yet ultimately failed. And since I'm on a pessimistic streak, I will go further to say that the American government is not far from the outcomes that have already happened to many strong empires. How could this be? Well, to start, by 2020, projections indicate that we would need 20% of the entire world's GDP just to finance our debt. This is not to mention that the government would need a miracle bigger than walking on water itself to fund Social Security and Medicare for the next 20 years. Without a revolutionary change that is politically unimaginable right now, our country will either go bankrupt or money will be inflated so much so that we'll need wheelbarrows full of green just to buy a gallon of milk. Although the stock market grew at a rapid speed in recent years, 2015 is shaping up to be a tipping point for our economy. Market growth was at a near standstill this year, worrying people that the US dollar collapse predicted recently is true. Further, there are a lot of ramifications to nearly half of all Americans paying no income tax. Not to mention it affects the social classes. The nature of the tax code alone stifles movements between economic classes. This unbalanced scale reduces investment from people in the best position to create jobs, thus slowing the economic output even further. What happens when the takers outnumber the makers in the United States? We're getting very close to that tipping point, and it's doubtful we'll like the answer when we find out. But the collapse of our financial system, or hyperinflation of our currency, or a meltdown in the U.S. treasuries is only the beginning. Our government has become so massive that government agencies are getting away with disgusting abuse of its power, along with the U.S. government itself. We've recently seen an incredible abuse of Section 215 of the Patriot Act, leading the National Security Administration to collect hordes of data from the average American's phone records, travel information, and medical history. This is said to be the start of restrictions on foreign travel, including suspension and removal of passports. A dramatic increase in the number of home and business foreclosures will result in homelessness for anyone whose debt exceeds his ability to pay, along with those who appear to be well off. As the number rises significantly, theory suggests that a fourth and new homeless class will be created amongst the former middle class. And with an already high abuse of powers, the government could allow, and most likely will allow, the NDAA to suspend habeas corpus and indefinite detentions. The government could perceive martial law as a solution to civil unrest. The fact is that the U.S. government for the last decade has been moving increasingly closer to a police state, with practically unconstitutional watch lists and militarized police departments. All of these factors have contributed to a blend of the private sector and also lessening the dynamics of our economy, leading to massive corruption. Further, America is being decimated by a profound moral crisis. It is no coincidence that America has the largest prison population in the world. Drug use is rampant, a new age of riots have occurred, and mass murder has become all too common. Our nation is becoming increasingly violent, and we're learning what John Adams meant when he said, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral people. It is wholly inadequate to a government of any other." All of these truly terrifying factors set aside, just alone look at the uncanny parallels between the downfall of Rome and the conditions of America now. First, you see a staggering increase in the cost of elections. Our election of 2012 costed $30 billion to finance. While in Rome, Caesar reportedly borrowed so heavily for one political campaign, he feared he'd be ruined if not elected. Next, both societies used politics as means of gaining personal wealth. During the late Roman Republic period, holding public office and exploiting was a substantial way to gain wealth. Nowadays, senators and their staffs focus their government service to more private sector positions, those that pay up to 10 times their governmental compensation. For both societies, their focus was not so much on the people that put them in power. No, their focus instead was on those who will make them rich. Similar to Rome, the U.S. for the past 100 years have been fighting, recovering, or preparing for war. And just like Rome, America has a crippling amount of debt. These are just a few examples, not even to mention corrupt politicians, violent entertainment, outsourcing, taxes, borders, language, terror attacks, military cuts, immorality, gerrymandering, and soon to be the collapse of middle class. Sadly, there are truly no remedies to this inevitable and truly horrific future. Most of what has begun is unstoppable and should have never been started. Hopefully these predictions are wrong, but this is highly unlikely. One can only hope that the American empire will stay forever strong, and if not, that next time we do not allow history to repeat itself. Thank you.